Welcome back to the Titanium Hangar. Happy Friday, everybody. Hope everybody's doing well. Today I want to talk to you about more Build-A figures for more or less all Transformer scales, not just Masterpiece. But there's so many options out there, so much going on with Build-A figures. There are well-known companies like Yellow Park and Flame Toys, and then we get into the Half the Battle and this PPL Toys, and a few other things going on out there. But we're going to discuss this Build-A-Figure. We're going to discuss what's going on with it right now, what kind of has gone on with it, but future possibilities is also something I want to discuss. I want to kind of go through this, make some sense of this. We're going to talk about this and more coming up. So before we get into this, I was, of course, on Show Z, getting these pictures and trying to make some sense out of these kits. And I see this DNA design up there for pre-order. So this is an upgrade kit for a Devastator and a 2000 something, 13 or something Devastator. So if you want to get the upgrade kit for the kind of Combiner Wars 1, this thing has been out of production for years, and a lot of people have been looking for it. And it's up now for like 65 bucks. Also, I noticed something else that I thought was pretty interesting, was that they're in stock now for the KO of the Takara Skyfire, 105 bucks. So I just want to let everyone know before Sunday, because between now and Sunday, they might sell out. Who knows? So the first thing I want to talk about is Yellow Park, and this is the Rise of the Beast lineup of their model kits, and I think they look really good. And for the price and the size, I think they are great, but you do have to build them. So in this whole build series, this is about 8 inches tall, 7.87 inches tall for the Prime, and probably the Primal, but Bumblebee would be a little bit shorter there. And so I kind of look at these as chug scale, slightly above the Hasbro mainline by about 3/4 of an inch, but they do look really good. And for the price point, I mean, it's really hard to beat that. $34, you're bigger than their leader class with a higher end look and finish to them. So when you look at these builds, so far as I know, these are all just non-transforming figures so far. So this is where we are now, or kind of where we have been, kind of a statement. What's got me really excited about Yellow Park, way more than their big giant $2,400 Optimus Prime, is this Megatron, and I've talked about it a lot, but the reason is because it looks very G1-esque. It will fill a gap in mainline collectors' shelf, and it would probably start a different shelf possibly for you. Now, it's not going to fit in your Masterpiece collection, but the thing about it is that it's pre-assembled. Once I saw that and it caught my attention, I was really excited about the idea of pre-assembled. So I started kind of getting a lot of comments on why they would do pre-assembled instead of a full-on kit. Because my thought process was, you're getting it a lot cheaper if you build it yourself. And in fact, those other ones that you built yourself were $33, where this is $60. This is pre-assembled, where you pop on. As you can see, the legs will pop onto the hip. You gotta put the hands on, and then connect the biceps and then the shoulders. And so there is some assembly required, but not much. I mean, we're talking 10 minutes max out of the package, and you're up and running with this thing. To me, that's nothing. That is nothing. That's like getting an average action figure out of the package and adding a few more steps, a few additional steps. But that's not a big deal to me. This kind of comes into play and brings a lot of other ideas into my head when I see something like this. So I am excited for it. The other thing is the fact that it looks very G1-esque. Now, it's not perfectly perfect, but it's still very nice, and I'm very impressed with it. I think the head could be a little bit better, and there's a couple things here and there that probably could be improved on it. But I'm not going to nitpick the heck out of it for a $60 figure that's giving you something that looks this good, and it's already partially pre-assembled. Moving up into sort of Masterpiece scale, but this is above Masterpiece scale. This is a Yellow Park. There's your Shockwave. Now, as you can see, it is a bit stylized. It is more from the Bumblebee movie instead of from G1. And this is looking into the past right here, where we have been with them. That comes with plastic and die cast and LED lights and stuff. Carries a $169 price point. Now, you're building it yourself, and it's $170. But if they assembled it, Yellow Park's got some very high-end price points, so you could be paying quite a bit for this if they already assembled it for you. So this is kind of one of those things that it could be $300, $400, $500 with all the stuff they put into it if you didn't put it together yourself. $169 is still pretty steep, but it starts to get you into a mindset of thinking about what the future could be like with model kits if they're popular enough. And the problem is, This thing's still not sold out. Makes me think it's not popular enough. Is it not popular because it's a model kit? Or is it not popular because it's not G1? So now we get into Flame Toys. What has Flame Toys done? I mean, these have been around for a while. And with that, they make very stylized figures. And I'm not as into the stylized stuff as maybe closer to G1, but I do want to talk about it. And then it says it's a model kit. I've seen these at the Hobby Lobby, and so price point wise, not really that bad. This is $64, so it is still a little pricey, and this is one that you have to put together all the way from scratch, I believe. You're not getting it partially pre-assembled. It's all on the sprues. You know, something along the lines of this. This is actually the parts from this Acid Storm. But it does look pretty cool. It is pretty interesting, and I start to wonder if Flame Toys will ever go into a G1 range, or if they're going to stay with the stylized look. I think that might be why they're more popular, is because they're stylized. But then again, why is Yellow Park not as popular with that series they got going on? So it's kind of confusing. Price point does play a lot into this, and this one is 6 inches tall. Doesn't fit Masterpiece, but it does sort of fit okay with Mainline. They've also done a Soundwave, stylized, was 6 inches tall, and it was about $70. And I started looking at this, and I'm thinking, I want to figure out where this would place for me, and it would be a Mainline. And is this better than what Hasbro put out with their Mainline? Is this a better offering? And you start to wonder, plus it doesn't transform. And so there's a lot of things to consider when you're looking at these, and I'm kind of thinking what would work as a Masterpiece. I think I've said this before, but I really think this RC model kit should work as Masterpiece. If it's about the 6-inch height, and RC herself should be about 6 inches, 7 inches in that range for a Masterpiece scale, or at least several have been in the Masterpiece scale between the 6 and 7 inch range, so that would work. I don't know exactly her height just yet, but she does look really good, and it looks like one of those that would work out very well. I also like the idea of RC being a model kit, or not even just so much a model kit, but the non-transforming aspect of her, because of the fact that you never can seem to get it just right. With a transforming version of her, you can't get this character to look right, and so I've said this a lot in the past, I know, and covered it in the last model or build a figure video, but this is one of those that would be worth the time. I consider getting her, and something's happened, I'll talk about that here in a bit, that's kind of changed my mind. I might actually pick up one of these kits pretty soon. Flame Toys has a slew of other characters coming our way, like a stylized Hound and Shockwave, which both look very interesting. And I gotta tell you that Shockwave, I'm liking the look of the Shockwave more than the look of the Hound, but I think a lot of people are digging the Hound too. So anyhow, looking at these are ones that are on the way, still in about the same scale, and still you gotta build them. And I do also like the fact that these do show up in, say, your Hobby Lobbies, and they'll do like a 40% off sale once in a while. But I just checked Hobby Lobby the other day. They don't have one. Not even one of these is in my Hobby Lobby. So another company that is making these Trumpeteer, they're making about 4.72, so 5 inches on this guy. And so that would be, of course, more of a mini bot. But when you think about it, this is another company making more or less mainline scale, because the Prime's like 5.12 inches tall. And so they are making more of these kits. They call it a smart model kit, and I still think somebody told me it took them to do something that was called a smart model kit, because they have released some of these for 2 hours, but I'm not sure. But I was told it takes about 2 hours to put one of these together, and that's on average for pretty much any of these kits that I'm showing in here. Take about 2 hours out of your time, and it's something that I was like, there's no way I would do that in the past, but now I think I might for a few reasons. But I do think that these have a pretty interesting design to them, and let's kind of see what all is out there. There's a slew of stuff, and just to make it quick and easy, there's all these that are from this company. And with that, it looks like they are deep into the Bumblebee style, but I'm wondering when this stuff's supposed to come out, and price-wise, just based on what I've seen below, they range between $22 and $40, so it's a pretty good price range. But where does this scale? Where would you put this with? Where would you display it? Or would it be its own thing? And would it be its own Bumblebee thing if you don't collect Bumblebee stuff in any other form, from Hasbro or for a Masterpiece scale? It'd be its own scale? That's a possibility, but it's a build of figure I want to talk about. Okay, there's something else that's called Don's Models Kits, and it's showing 2022 sold out, so it's only like a year and a half ago that it was out. Don't know if it'll get reissued or anything, but these are Seekers that look a little bit stylized. They do look really cool, and they are $85 a piece, so you could get a pre-assembled Seeker that looks very G1 for probably around that price point if you're getting a KO or if you're getting something like Deformation Space or along those lines. But this is still something that was an option. It came and went, and I completely missed it, but it'd be something to talk about, something interesting to see. Going even smaller, we've got something called the PPL Toys Aircraft Starscream model. Those Don model kits I think were 12-inch. These are like 5-inch. This is 5.04 inch, so another 5-inch one. Now this does look very G1-esque, and it's 5 inches, a little bit too big to be Legends. So it's kind of all over the place with the sizing and scaling of these figures. I don't know if I'd want to do a Legends model kit that transformed. This one doesn't transform, of course, but I'm not sure if I'd want to do one that small, but this is a little bit bigger than that. Now, we've seen this before. I don't think it's quite delivered just yet. It's still on pre-order. We only see these gray prototype shots. We do know there's an Optimus Prime in the works here, but it would be interesting to see how this shapes up. And I do start to get a little confused and frustrated about the scale of all these models, because nothing really seems to hit with anything else. But that might also be why they're doing that, is to maybe stay out of trouble? Who knows? We've recently talked about this Half Battle Toys, but I've got more information about Half Battle Toys, and this is the Micro Model Kits Nanobots. I found out these will not be painted, so you will have to paint them yourselves. They will come in grayscale from my understanding, and so I did pre-order a set just to check them out, take one for the team, you know? And so here's kind of how they're going to look with this grayscale to them. They are about 1.5 inches, somewhere plus or minus 1.4, 1.6, something along those lines. And so they should fit in sort of okay with what we've gotten so far with X-Transbots. And they're microbots. It should fit in okay with some of the other ones that are out there. I think that X-Transbots made some. And looking at this, they've made the characters that are coming out are ones that, for the most part, aside from Optimus Prime, but we haven't really gotten all of these characters, and they're trying to possibly complement what you've already gotten with X-Transbots and Takara, or maybe that's just luck, just sheer luck with that. But it'd be interesting to get these. They are working to get sets, pre-painted sets up eventually, but the price difference in that's going to be dramatic. I mean, almost twice the price. So I'm still going to get this. I might do my own paint job, but I don't think it would look that great. And of course, there are those GoBots that they're currently being made by Mega House, and Big Bad Toy Store is where I get mine. Machine Robo, Revenge of Kronos, Machine Build, Blue Jet. These are partial builds where you just add a couple of pieces to it and finish it off. And so what I'm being told is the reason they're doing this, that you get it like 80% built, and yeah, just plug some parts in, kind of like what YOLO Park's doing, but someone says it has something to do with a tax situation. Someone else says it has something to do with a licensing situation. It's considered a different category. Instead of action figures, considered something else. So that's all a possibility. I don't know the facts on that, but that's just stuff I've heard, so I'm kind of passing that along. But this line, these do feel a little lightweight, a little cheap, but they look pretty good on the shelf, and the transformation is almost identical to the vintage. These are just vintage figures scaled up a bit, and they have a good transformation to them, but they have more articulation, and it's sort of what we should have gotten in the past. Still not masterpiece level, but they are trying to keep the price low. So it really got me thinking about the future of these model kits, and there's a lot of people that enjoy doing it. People say it's therapeutic to build them. Well, I did put together this with my son over the course of a few days, and it took about 5 hours total between each of us doing different parts and stuff. But this Voltron, it looks great, but it's more or less a statue. And it's a little satisfying to get it done. Not 5 hours was satisfying, but I think 2 hours of me making a figure that would fit in with my collection and enhance my collection for a masterpiece scale might have been more satisfying than doing a Voltron. But I thought the Voltron, it's so big and menacing that it really is cool. And I'm not a huge Lego guy, but I'm glad I got it. I'm glad I did it, But this got me thinking, that much work, only about a third of that work, and you can have an actual figure on the shelf. But it also got me thinking about what the future is, what the future could be, because of some of the elements they put into this. A while back, a company started and then vanished, Open to Play, and they put out this Open to Play Big Spring. They also did a KO oversized version of a Galvatron or something along those lines. But this was supposed to be, you just get it out of the box, you don't even need instructions, you can transform it. That's a lie, you need instructions to transform it because it's not that intuitive. But starts to make me think, could the future hold something along the lines where we could do model kits of transforming Transformers? Is that something that could happen in the future? And if it did, there's pluses and minuses. I'm going to give you the quick plus on this. The plus is you get to intimately know everything about that figure because you had to build it, you had to put it together, and all that. And it would take longer than 2 hours for sure if it was transforming kit. And so that's one plus. Another plus to it is the fact that if, let's say, you break something, you break a piece, and they do support it and send you a part, then you have a much better idea of how to put that part on. The other thing is that it's easier to insert a pin, in my opinion, to insert a pin than to extract a pin. Once the pin is in, it has these ridges that will hold it in place, and it's harder to get out. You can get a pin pulling tool and stuff. But when you think about the things you have to fix and repair on like a Fans Toys or an X-Transbots, and you got to pull a pin, or if you just want to swap out the chest piece on your Fans Toys blaster, well, you got to pull that pin. But I would think that they would have sort of an end in mind and not have as many pins, more screws, or more pop-in kind of pieces. But it would be kind of cool to see if the future holds with that. Another positive would be the labor cost, so you should be able to get these cheaper. Like, instead of Masterpiece prices going up, you could see Masterpiece prices going down. And that's not to say you could get parts that are already pre-painted. You can get die-cast already pre-painted. That could be something that we go to the future. Then again, you can scratch them up, you can break them. There's a whole lot of negatives. So scratching your paint is a negative. Breaking them is a negative. If you misassemble it, it's worthless. So there's a lot of negatives to think about the future if you do the transforming versions. So for now, I think they're all going to be non-transforming, and I do think that that's all that gets licensed out by Hasbro and Takara. If they're non-transforming, well, you see the Flame Toys, you see the Yellow Parks, you see all of them, they don't transform, and that's because Hasbro and Takara own the transforming market. But anyway, I would like to at least see Yellow Park go further and do more G1-esque kind of figures that they, like their Megatron and stuff like that. But what do you think about all this? Are you in on any of these builds? Have you built any of these model kits that are out there? I'd like to get more feedback about this. Of course, maybe 6 months down the road, I will have a model kit that I have built and reviewed. We will be talking about that, and I will revisit this topic again. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Like, subscribe. Tadarium Hanger out.